Individuals who have accumulated substantial wealth are always on the lookout for opportunities to invest their money. However, sometimes shocking and unforeseen events occur that can radically alter their lives. Today we will delve into the life of Bernie Madoff, the mastermind behind the largest financial fraud in U.S. history. We will examine how the scam began, Madoff's life following his arrest, and the impact on those who were defrauded. Bernie Madoff was born in Queens, New York City to Jewish parents, Ralph Madoff, a stockbroker, and Sylvia Muntner. His grandparents were immigrants from Poland, Romania, and Austria. Madoff graduated from Far Rockaway High School in 1956 and went on to attend the University of Alabama for 1 year, where he joined the Sigma Alpha Mu fraternity's Tau chapter. He then earned a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Hofstra University in 1960. Instead of continuing on to law school, Madoff left Brooklyn Law School to start his own company. With $5,000, equivalent to $46,000 in 2021, earned from his early jobs as a lifeguard and sprinkler installer, Madoff founded Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities, LLC in 1960. The company initially functioned as a broker-dealer for penny stocks. The Madoff enterprise, which had been a sole proprietorship for 41 years, became a limited liability company in 2001 with Madoff as the only shareholder. Madoff Securities was once the largest market maker on the Nasdaq and ranked 6th among market makers for the S&P 500 in 2008. The company also had an unpublicized investment management and advice branch, which was the subject of the fraud investigation. Madoff's company paid brokers for the right to execute a customer's order, which is known as a legal kickback. The morality of these payments has been questioned by some scholars. However, Madoff argued that these payments did not impact the price that the customer received. Having mentioned this, we are on the way to the most significant aspect of Madoff's story. Let's discuss the Madoff scam. It is important to note that financial analyst Harry Markopolos had told the SEC in 1999 that he thought it was both theoretically and legally impossible to attain the gains Madoff had promised. Markopolos claimed it took him 4 minutes to realize Madoff's figures did not add up and another minute to assume they were a fraud. Even though Madoff's wealth management company eventually became a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, none of the top derivative businesses ever traded with him because they didn't trust his reported financial results. Others argued that it was impossible for Madoff's documented accounting/auditing firm, a 3-person company with just one active accountant, to lawfully and competently handle the expanding volume of his accounts. Are you becoming increasingly curious to learn more about the largest fraud in U.S. history? If so, please continue to follow along as we have a wealth of information to share with you. When Madoff began using Irish funds, the Central Bank of Ireland failed to recognize his massive fraud and was forced to provide a wealth of information, which would have been sufficient for Irish regulators to discover the fraud much earlier than late 2008, when he was finally apprehended in New York. According to the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the federal prosecutor's complaint, Madoff revealed that a top employee, identified by Bloomberg News as one of his sons, during the first week of December 2008, that he was having trouble meeting $7 billion in redemptions. He simply deposited investor funds in his business account at JP Morgan Chase and withdrew funds from that account upon the investor's redemption request for years. However, despite financial contributions from several seasoned investors, it became clear by the week that there was not enough money to even start to meet the remaining demands. Midway through 2008, his Chase account had almost $5.5 billion, but by late November, it had dropped to just $234 million, which was a tiny percentage of the outstanding redemptions. Madoff was aware that he could not even try to borrow the money he needed because the banks had all ceased lending. On December 3, he announced his resignation to long-standing employee Frank DePascali, who had overseen the bogus advisory firm. He revealed the deception to his brother Peter on December 9. The sons claimed that on December 9, Madoff informed Mark Madoff that he intended to pay out $173 million in bonuses 2 months early. Mark informed Andrew Madoff, and the following morning, they went to their father's office and questioned him about how he could pay bonuses to his staff if he was having trouble paying clients. Madoff stated that he had recently made profits through business operations and that now was a good time to distribute it. Mark informed Andrew Madoff once they arrived. Madoff told them that he was finished and had absolutely nothing left and that his investment fund was nothing but a lie and essentially a giant Ponzi scheme while Ruth Madoff was present. Are you curious to know the total amount of money lost by investors as a result of the scam? In a statement dated May 4, 2011, after modifications, the total amount owing to customers was $57 billion, of which $17.3 billion was invested by customers. Only $2.6 billion was available to compensate victims out of the $7.6 billion that had been obtained due to ongoing cases. The estimated scale of the fraud was $65 billion early on in the inquiry, but Harvey Pitt, a former SEC chairman, put the actual net fraud at $10 to $17 billion. What about Bernie Madoff's personal life? You must be wondering what happened to him after the controversial Ponzi scheme. On March 12, 2009, Madoff pleaded guilty to 11 federal offenses, which included charges of theft from an employee benefit plan, filing false documents with the SEC, money laundering, perjury, making false statements, and securities fraud. These charges were in response to a criminal complaint filed 2 days earlier, accusing Madoff of running the largest Ponzi scheme in history and defrauding his clients of approximately $65 billion over the previous 20 years. Madoff argued that he was solely responsible for the scam. It has been speculated that he chose not to cooperate with authorities and pleaded guilty to all charges in order to protect the identities of any accomplices or co-conspirators involved in the scheme. In his plea statement, Madoff acknowledged that he began his Ponzi scheme in 1991 and admitted that during this time, he had never made any legitimate investments using the money of his clients. He stated that instead of making legitimate investments, he transferred the funds to his business account at Chase Manhattan Bank. When clients requested withdrawals, he paid them from the Chase account using money from other clients' deposits, a classic example of robbing Peter to pay Paul in order to fulfill their requests. It is estimated that JP Morgan Chase may have made as much as $483 million from Madoff's bank account. On June 29, 2009, Judge Denny Chin, a U.S. federal judge, gave Madoff the maximum sentence of 150 years in federal prison due to Madoff's advanced age of 71 and his short life expectancy. His attorneys initially requested the judge to impose a sentence of 12 years. Madoff expressed remorse for his actions and the harm caused to his victims, stating, "I have left a legacy of shame, as some of my victims have pointed out, to my family and my grandchildren. This was something I will live with for the rest of my life. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't help you." However, it is up to the victims to decide if this apology was sufficient for the harm they experienced as a result of the fraud. On November 9, 2017, the U.S. government announced that over 24,000 victims of the Ponzi scheme began receiving payments totaling $772.5 million from the Madoff Victim Fund. Additionally, the Madoff Recovery Initiative announced total recoveries and settlement agreements of $14.418 billion as of 2021. Now let's examine the aftermath of the Ponzi scheme for some of the victims, several years after Bernie Madoff orchestrated the biggest fraud in U.S. history. One example of a victim is a Wall Street CEO who had lost billions to Madoff and later died by suicide in a luxurious hotel in Manhattan. Another victim, a millionaire, lost all her savings in the scheme and had to take on a job cleaning other people's homes. She expressed her anger towards Madoff by saying, "How dare you? What you have done is an abomination on the human race." These examples are just a small representation of the numerous victims of the alleged largest scam in the US. It's clear that Madoff's Ponzi scheme and actions had a significant negative impact not only on the lives of the victims, but also on Madoff's life and his family. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed the video, and remember to leave a like, subscribe, and enable post notifications. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, Wealth Journal, to learn more about the interesting life of the key players in the financial industry. See you in the next video.